I'm in the Toyota Crown on a quick road trip to see what the real world MPG is in this car. I'm gonna live with this thing for 2 days, and I can tell you so far, it's not exactly what I expected. Now this car is rated for 41 on the freeway. I think I'm getting pretty close to that. I did go up a pretty big hill pretty slowly to get where I am right now. So far I'm about halfway through my 200-mile trip, and the current MPG as shown on the dash is 39.8. Sorry people that want me to hypermile. I'm not ever going to hypermile, and I'm never going to drive on a completely flat surface. I'm driving under real world conditions. I've been driving with the flow of traffic. I'm not trying to get the best possible MPG out of this, and I'm going to drive the way what I think most people are going to drive.
Toyota has been kind enough to lend me a prototype vehicle, and that means it might not be indicative of exactly the final production version.
Let's go for a drive, and I'm going to tell you what this thing has been like to live with for the last couple of days. Now we're going into the fog, and the fog is a mysterious place, kind of like this car. I really can't figure out if this is trying to be a crossover or it's trying to be a family sedan. It definitely feels closer to family sedan, but it's got the height of a crossover, and some of the looks, I'm still a little confused, but we're gonna head into the fog. We're gonna figure it out. Acceleration is not too bad with 236 horsepower, but if you've got 4 people in the car, it's definitely gonna be a little bit on the slow side. But this vehicle does feel really, really solid. It feels like it's built like a tank. This feels a lot more substantial than a Camry, for example. This definitely has a more luxury feel. This is definitely more in line with Lexus in terms of the handling and in terms of the road noise and just in terms of the ride quality, which is excellent. This does not have adaptive suspension. You need to move up 1 level to get that. This just has conventional springs and McPherson struts, and it does have a multi-link rear end. And they say the ride quality is really, really good. No one is going to get offended by bumps on the road. This really sucks up everything very, very nicely and very delicately. This is a car that is a lot less, how should I say it, grandpa-like than the Avalon that it replaces. So the acceleration is not going to set your hair on fire, and it does have the typical CVT noisy 4-cylinder engine sound where the engine revs up when you demand a little bit of gas. So it's not the quietest experience in the world from an engine standpoint, but it definitely is quieter than some of the other Toyota hybrid products. So that's a good thing. They've definitely spent a lot of time trying to refine this and make this just a slightly more sophisticated experience than what you get with some of the other Toyota hybrids. In terms of where this places in the Toyota hierarchy, this is their most premium vehicle, and then you're getting into Lexus. Now the seats are quite comfortable, they're very good, not a lot of lateral support here, but I think they are 8-way adjustable. You've got a lumbar support, and these are leather seats. Now in terms of the feedback to the steering wheel, I think it's about average for a Toyota product, pretty light. If I put it in sport mode, it does have a couple of different modes. Does the steering get a little bit heavier? Not really. It seems like the steering is about the same. Maybe it's a hair heavier. Really not much feel coming through the wheel, but it is pretty accurate. Now handling on a road like this is okay for a large vehicle like this. They say that with the all-wheel drive system, you're going to be able to reduce understeer a little bit. I'm not really sure that that is true. This is not something that I'm going to worry about understeer a whole lot. It does drive pretty nicely, and it is pretty quiet and pretty refined, and I think that's what most people are looking for in a vehicle like this. This does cruise really nicely in the highway. This is very comfortable. This is going to be a great road trip car, and if you're getting the MPG that I've been seeing so far, which is around 41, which is what it's rated for from the EPA, I think you're going to be pretty happy with this. Now it does have electronically assisted brakes, which are not much feel in them. I guess that's typical again when you get a hybrid vehicle. Same thing with the Prius. Not my favorite brakes, but again, most people are not buying this to do performance driving of any sort at all. But I still sort of wonder who this vehicle is for. It does have a lot more space than a Camry. It is more premium priced than a Camry. You can get this thing over $50,000. So they have this sort of performance luxury version, and then you've got this mid-grade version, which I'm in right now, which I think will be the more popular version of this. And with Toyota Safety Sense 3.0, the vehicle can sense when you're going around curves, it can see what's happening, and it does apply a little bit of braking when it thinks you're going just a little bit too fast around a curve. It's barely noticeable, but it is there. The display in front of the driver is pretty large, it's pretty bright, it's pretty good in terms of visibility, but I think it's kind of confusing to use. You've got a lot of buttons on the steering wheel to configure the various displays, and I've been messing around with it for a solid hour, and I'm still confused in terms of getting the display that I want quickly. I think when you're driving, it's going to be just a bit of a distraction, and I think most people are just going to set it and forget it, quite frankly. I think there could be some improvement done with this system here. It's really just not as easy to use as some other infotainment systems that I've seen, such as some of the new Lexus products. I think there's still a little bit of work to be done. Again, this is considered a prototype vehicle, so I might not be dealing with what is considered the final software in this. There's that CVT whine. It's not the most pleasant sounding engine in the world, but it's not that loud, so it's really not that offensive. When you move up to the Platinum, you do get a conventional transmission without the CVT, so it's gonna feel a lot more sporty. You're also not gonna get the MPG that you're getting with this vehicle. Now, all versions of the Crown are hybrids, so the XLE and this limited version both get a 2.5 liter engine, naturally aspirated, and they are mated to an electric front motor and an electric rear motor. Total system output is around 236 horsepower. Torque is around 163 pound-feet. If you move it to the Platinum, you're gonna get a 2.4 liter turbocharged engine. You're gonna get a more powerful front and rear electric motor, and total system output on that is about 340 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. So that is significantly more power. It's going to be significantly faster, and you're going to get less MPG.
Let's talk about the interior space, which is definitely almost Lexus-like. The materials are quite nice, not quite as premium as a Lexus. You do have some hard plastics. Up front, there's a lot of headroom. It's going to be good for tall drivers. If you're a wider person, not going to be a problem either. I do really like that Lexus has kept the physical HVAC controls. Hallelujah. You've also got this little wireless charger here, which is kind of nice. It fits right up front. Now we do have a 12.1-inch infotainment display. It's fairly responsive for the most part. I really don't want to ever give it up. And you've also got a mapping application, which is, again, pretty responsive for the most part. Pinch and zoom. It is over-the-air updatable, so it's going to work pretty well into the future, I think. In the back seat, it's got a lot of leg room, but you are compromised with headroom because the roof does kind of slope down, unlike a traditional SUV. In the trunk, there is a load of space. You can put all kinds of stuff in here. Of course, it has got some camera gear. Very, very cavernous trunk.
In the city is when you're going to get your best gas mileage. It's supposed to be 42 MPG. Now, on that trip that I took, which is about 220 miles so far, I've actually recorded an average of 41, which is what you're supposed to get in the highway. And I'll let you know, I was not driving conservatively. I was driving with the flow of traffic or faster sometimes quite a bit faster because I just wanted to get home quickly. So I didn't exactly have pedal to the metal, but I was driving quickly and not trying to conserve fuel. So I think that's a pretty good number so far.
I gotta give props to Toyota for coming out what I think is a fairly interesting and unusual car in today's marketplace. Look, what's selling right now is SUVs, CUVs, crossovers, and this sort of straddles the line between a crossover and a traditional sedan. I'm not quite sure what to make of it, but clearly Toyota thinks there are going to be buyers for it. It's hybrid only. I think we're going to see more powertrains as we move forward. If you want a car and you want something that's a little bit bigger than a Camry, you should definitely be looking at this, especially if you don't like SUVs. My name is Eric. Click the next video right over here.